Hey, what's up? Hello, everyone. Welcome into Fantasy Filmball, the show where we turn movies into sports and sports into something we don't talk about here. My name is Matt.
My name is Dyl, and today we are diving into our SAG predictions, our first and probably final ones that we're doing before the nominations come out here very shortly. And before we dive into today's video, if you're new here, consider dropping a subscription, a like, a comment. It helps our channel grow, helps you stay connected for all the awesome content that we're doing here. Plus, we have a pretty fun community. There's a Discord link down below. We can talk to fellow like-minded Oscar people. We're in there as well. There's fun stuff always going on. But Matt, how do you feel about SAG coming up this year? Because they're not weird like the Globes. They didn't add a 6 into every category, so we still only have 5 everywhere.
I'm feeling good. I'm feeling like a lot of these categories are going to be close to 5 for 5 or 4 for 5. I think the state of the current race that we have is going to be really reflected from SAG, and I think it's going to illuminate a few things. What films really are ahead? Are we going to really see that Barbie dominance? Like, let's say America Ferrera gets in. If that happens, I'm taking it for real, for real. Let's see if Oppenheimer can get an extra supporting actor in. Let's see if something might surge here that we didn't expect. And most importantly, is The Color Purple dead for real, for real? Because up until this point, we've kind of thought The Color Purple needs a resurgence at SAG, which means it needs Best Ensemble, it needs Supporting Actress, and it would be a really good showing for it if Fantasia Barrino got in too. But those are things we're going to talk about a little bit later. Let's get right into this with our first category, Best Ensemble.
Yeah, so I think that we're pretty much in agreement that Oppenheimer, Barbie seem like pretty much locks in this category to get a nomination.
Yes.
It's just, which one do you have at number 1? Currently, I have Barbie. I think this will be its big win on the precursor circuit, where it may not come out on top at like PGA or at BAFTA or at DGA, but SAG seems like it's the spot to hit.
On the other hand, I have Oppenheimer above Barbie just because I hate to say it. I think I'm conceding. I think Oppenheimer might just be too big to fail, and yeah, it might just take SAG Ensemble. But that said, if it doesn't take SAG Ensemble, it might change my mind a little bit about what could happen down the road through the season, because, you know, sometimes losing one of these big awards can show a little bit of weakness if you're a front runner of that magnitude. So for me, yeah, it's Oppenheimer first, Barbie second. You've got it flipped. And we both agree that Killers of the Flower Moon and Color Purple are the two next in line. Color Purple being up here, even, you know, not at the bottom slot, at number 4, is really indicative of a few things. The number one thing, which I know you talk about quite a lot, is that every year in SAG Ensemble, we get at least one, usually just one, but sometimes more, but definitely one movie in SAG Ensemble that will not be nominated for Best Picture at the Oscars, and Color Purple perfectly fits the bill.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, throughout the year, we're like, oh, can it be Air? Can it be this? Can it be that? Because we're like, oh, Color Purple's for sure in Best Picture, but recent events have shown people don't really love the movie as much as we thought they would. So it seems like it's on the outside looking in, but it seems perfectly right for one of these SAG Ensemble slots. And you may think as well, oh, Kills of the Flower Moon, that's going to be our obvious one that misses. It makes sense. There's like one big lead performance, a big supporting, like maybe a lead, maybe a supporting, but it is shown consistently that it is strong. It's more than just those 3. There's a lot of people who are billed who are eligible to hit this nomination, because you looked at some other movies where there's only like 3 names that are eligible. Killers has like 5, 6, 7. Like Brendan Fraser's one of those. That's how many people they do include on those individual billing lists. So I think Killers is pretty safe. It's not going to be like a Mank or a Power of the Dog, where it's our big shocker or nomination morning. To me, that's Poor Things. I've been saying it for a while. After seeing the movie, I feel like that even more. I love the ensemble, but the other people who do get their solo billing just aren't really doing that as much, and if someone has to miss, I feel like Poor Things is where like all the actors get nominated, just and misses out on the big prize.
I'd agree. It really fits that typical thing we see every year, where you have one movie where all the actors get nominated. So how is it not here? Like The Shape of Water a few years ago. Or I think Power of the Dog might have also missed the nomination. And the answer to that is that they're already nominating all of the actors. They don't really feel the need to also nominate the ensemble. But I guess, I mean, you could make the argument that that could be Oppenheimer, Barbie, or Killers of the Flower Moon, but I just feel like all of those films have a little bit of a stronger ensemble togetherness narrative than Poor Things does. But Poor Things is my first alternate. My final film in the top 5, I'm predicting The Holdovers to make it. So I currently have 5 of the 6 that are at the Critics' Choice, just missing Air. But I know you don't have The Holdovers. You're instead thinking it's going to be American Fiction.
I am holding out to American Fiction for SAG Ensemble. It just seems so much like SAG bait, but I know like these places are changing what their bait, what their catnip is throughout the year. So maybe this is a sign like, hey, SAG's a little bit different. We're either all in for a movie or we don't want to touch you at all. Last year we saw that with like Banshees. It kind of broke that Poor Things thing that we're talking about, where like, oh, if you get all your actors, you're probably not going to make it in if you're a limited cast. Banshees still got in. Everything Everywhere got every nomination it could have, and so on and so forth. So like they're showing like they will fully commit to a movie, and like to me, American Fiction's where like, oh, maybe they can't fit in Jeffrey Wright, Sterling K. Brown, maybe on the outside looking in, but we can get the ensemble in there and we feel good. But like, I don't know, I think that Jeffrey Wright's getting in. Spoiler alert, I may have Sterling K. Brown in my 5 as well, and I also have it in here for ensemble. But if American Fiction does miss, I don't think that's Poor Things. I don't think that's The Holdovers. I think it's The Iron Claw. And in that event, this is the year where we do have 2 of those non-Best Picture contenders, or Color Purple, Justice and Honor 10.
With what you're saying about American Fiction, I would love that to be true, because I spent so many months saying, oh my God, American Fiction could happen, and I've now accepted defeat. And I'd love to see American Fiction get a foothold here, because then that might give me some hope that maybe the path to Best Picture isn't dead. But I think it's just pretty dead at this point. I'm not expecting it to get in here. As much as audiences seemed to enjoy American Fiction more than The Holdovers is just being seen more. Also, Air is worth mentioning. It did get that Critics' Choice nomination, and that could just as easily as The Color Purple, it could be our non-Best Picture nominee in this 5.
And to throw one more out there, I know I would not like this nomination. I know you would not like it either. Saltburn could surprise.
I mean, you're right, but I don't like that you're right.
It really just comes down to, where is Amazon MGM's priority? They have Air here, they have Fiction, they have Saltburn. They can't push them all in, so which one do they focus on? Or do they just not try at all because it's MGM, and MGM just doesn't care about awards for some reason, even though that's the only thing that they do?
Oh, God. Okay, let's move to the next category. We have our Best Actor in a Leading Role, and you're going to see both of our 5s right here. And personally, I am still believing that Bradley Cooper is going to win. I really think he's just going all the way. Where are you in the race right now? Are you leaning more Murphy, or are you leaning more Cooper?
Maybe it's denial, maybe it's hope diction. I still have Murphy as my number 1, but Cooper is edging closer and closer. I just think it's going to come down to the passion for the movies. Yes, I know that Twitter specifically, is not the voting body, but
holy shit.
But since Maestro has hit like general release, kind of my feelings of the movie have been amplified by a lot of people, and it's like the movie's whatever. The texts are cool, the script's bad, and the performances aren't really being held by the script. And I don't know, is this going to be kind of like an Elvis thing with Austin Butler last year, where people are like, oh, he's doing so much, it's his time, look, he's so great, and then he just loses out to someone who's just got more passion in a movie that people just seem to like a little bit more. Not saying that The Whale was like, oh my gosh, people love it, but they were so head over heels for Brendan Fraser, the same way that I think people are going to be head over heels for Oppenheimer, where Murphy maybe doesn't have to do all that much except for get on a stage because people want to see him, where Cooper, just like Butler, is doing all the bells and whistles, doing all the tricks, making all the stops, and it's just not enough at the end of the day. I think it's going to be a super close race where they're going to like basically be neck and neck at everybody. SAG, Golden Globe, BAFTA, I can't think there's any other major ones, Critics' Choice, where like, oh, one may win here, but the other one's going to win the other. It's going to be super close. I don't think either of them are going to sweep the season.
Yeah, it's going to be back and forth. I'm going to be 100% honest here. The way that film Twitter treats Brendan Fraser is a little infantilizing, and I'm going to be honest, a little bit insulting. He's a grown man, and the way people were like, oh my God, he's so cute. Oh my God, wholesome 100, like over the performance, over him through the Oscar race. People did not like The Whale. They didn't like The Whale. And I'd say it had a similar kind of reception, kind of feeling around it to what Maestro has right now. The difference is that no one was allowed to say anything negative about Brendan Fraser himself, which is fine and good. I don't think we should be doing personal attacks during this season. But what ends up happening is every year Film Twitter decides the people they like and the people they don't like. And this year they don't like Bradley Cooper. Like, if you're doing all of that and not winning, it's wild. It's wild. Like, you have to reevaluate how we predict Oscars if something like Bradley Cooper doesn't win. That's not me saying that he absolutely should win, because honestly, it's not my favorite performance of the year. It's definitely up there, but it's not my favorite performance of the year. But we would have to, if that type of performance stopped winning, we'd have to reevaluate our whole way of predicting. And when it comes to the Screen Actors Guild Awards, I do think Bradley Cooper walks away with it. They typically lean to that more flashy role.
1A, 1B, take your pick where you got it. My comparison more to Murphy was just like the love of Oppenheimer, the love of Brendan Fraser. That kind of like pushes it over the top. Getting into our rest of our Best Acting nominations, I know we're a little bit different here. I think Domingo is in 100% at SAG. Oscar, that's another question. I think that Leo is getting in for the SAG. I think SAG just eats him up too much. And then at the 5 slot, I want to put Wright, but I think Giamatti just gets in over him.
That's interesting. It's interesting that you say Coleman Domingo is just in, because I'd say he's pretty on the fence. To me, I have a pretty locked top 4 that I think is going to be present everywhere. That's Cooper, Murphy, Giamatti, Wright. I don't think those guys are going to miss anything. They're going to be at BAFTA. But you know who I don't think is going to make BAFTA, and who I think is going to be weak here, and who I think is possibly the just 5th place in general in this category. This is a pretty locked top 5. Like, I don't see the Oscars not nominating DiCaprio, but I also don't see them not nominating anyone else here. And DiCaprio is the least likely in my mind. I'm going to swap DiCaprio out and put Coleman Domingo in. But ultimately, you could just put DiCaprio in, take Domingo out.
I mean, we look at Don't Look Up. Who's the one who got the nomination there? It was Leo, for BAFTA at least. But I don't know. I think Leo has enough love. He's in a movie that people do like, they do enjoy. I think he is going to be a mainstay throughout the season, just like in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, where he's not in win contention, but he's there. And then I think Domingo is just such a SAG performance, as you talked about for Cooper. He's just doing a lot. I think they're going to eat it up. He's also widely known in the industry. He hasn't really gotten his flowers yet. You could say the same for Jeffrey Wright, but Domingo is doing a more showy type performance. And then
I'd say even more for Jeffrey Wright.
I mean, yeah, Jeffrey Wright's been around in like bigger movies throughout, but I just feel like they both had that same angle. It's just here at SAG, Domingo's the more showy performance, where like, as we talked about, we love Jeffrey Wright for this, but in American Fiction, he's more of the straight man, where everyone around him is the more crazy people, while he's kind of just him. But I wouldn't be shocked if he got in over Giamatti. I could see Giamatti missing here. Maybe it's because I'm not as high on the holdovers, but I just feel like if they're going to take someone out, he seems like the one to go out after, right? And especially if they surprise with doing like Efron, which I wouldn't be shocked if Efron somehow hops over someone in this top 6.
I get the confidence with Leo in that they kind of always nominate him. But at the same time, if you look at how the race is going, look at the critical awards, like, there's a clear top 5 and Leonardo DiCaprio is not in it.
It's Critics Awards, though. Don't Look Up, he was nowhere for that. Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, he was nowhere for that. I know he didn't get the nomination for Don't Look Up, but he did for Hollywood, and I would say for Hollywood, he was probably number 3, maybe even number 2. Well, I mentioned before, I think that Jeffrey Wright and Zac Efron are my 2 on the outside looking in. Do you have anyone else to add to that list here at SAG, or do you think this is the end of the line?
So I would say Barry Keoghan could make it. Just like you said, Saltburn could be a surprise ensemble nominee. Barry Keoghan could absolutely happen because they really like him. Because he got that nomination last year for Banshees. Again, he could just kind of coast on that wave. And Saltburn might appeal really strongly to a group like SAG, who's a little bit more middle brow.
I mean, I just don't get why people are nominating him. I know that we weren't both big fans of Saltburn, but if you're gonna go for anyone that cast, why him? But enough for lead actor, I guess. Yeah, he's in the top 8. I would say he's above Scott. If you're gonna go like deeper down the line of like Oscar contenders, but Hjorgen would be stronger here at SAG. So now that moves us over to Best Lead Actress, where I think both of us do agree that we do have the same top 2: Emma Stone, Lily Gladstone. Who's number 1? Who's number 2? That's up for debate. SAG, I'm leaning more Emma Stone, while some other places I may be leaning more Gladstone. What about you at this moment?
I am still predicting that Emma Stone mostly cleans up the season, maybe loses Critics' Choice, and I would say, yeah, I expect Emma Stone to win at SAG. I'd be pretty shocked if she didn't, but it's going to take a lot to convince me that Emma Stone will not win the Oscar in the end. So right now, yeah, it's Emma Stone first, and then some room, and then Lily Gladstone.
And then at number 3 and number 4, I feel pretty good about Carey Mulligan and Margot Robbie here at SAG.
Same here.
SAG has shown year after year they really do like Margot Robbie. I know Babylon, I think she was on the outside looking in, but it got into Ensemble. And then Barbie's a bigger contender. I just think that she musters her way into this category, even if she may be that number 6 and number 5 slot for the Oscar. And Carey Mulligan, such a SAG performance where maybe it struggles elsewhere, but SAG is not the place where it's going to struggle at here. So would you agree there, 3 and 4?
I would completely agree. Carey Mulligan is, I would say, pretty much locked to get in, unless they just really hate Maestro and we see the downfall of Maestro happen. Carey Mulligan's in. Barbie is also, yeah, it's such a powerhouse that how do you not nominate Margot Robbie? A few weeks ago, we did our acting predictions, and someone commented on our video, after all of those Grammy nominations, you're still not predicting Margot Robbie and Barbie. And my response was, look at how stacked the actress field is. Like, how do I fit Margot Robbie into that? And now the answer is, oh, well, you do fit Margot Robbie in. Barbie is so big that no matter how powerful other actors are, Margot Robbie is going to be as powerful or more powerful than them. So yes, I'm all in on Margot Robbie as my 4th slot for SAG, and I have her in my Oscar 5 as well.
It's so weird, the, I guess, trajectory for Barbie throughout the year, because, like, I think early on, we were both a little higher on it, and then we kind of backtracked, like, well, is it going to be
always
Academy's
low on it
thing? And then it came out, and we were all super high on it, and then people were like, oh, well, Margot Robbie's not really the highlight, blah, blah, blah. So it's like, okay, let's move her down a little bit, and now she's back into that top 5. It's like, it's so much like bouncy bounce with Margot Robbie, where I'm glad that she's in the 5, especially when we look at our next few in line. But again, it's something that you would not have seen at all just a few weeks ago. For SAG, though, I think our number 5 here is going to be completely different than what the Oscar 5 is or what the BAFTA 5 is. I think this we're going to have a complete wild one, because like Oscar, you would probably say Hooler. BAFTA, you would probably say like Hooler and someone else. So maybe it's a net betting for Nyad. I think Nyad's personally dead, but maybe it can get in here. SAG does like Natalie Portman, maybe, but I also don't think this is a spot where she would show up over some of these other people. I think that Lee and Spaney may be stronger for like BAFTA. They don't seem big enough to like knock in that SAG nomination. So I'm still with Fantasia Barrino for The Color Purple. I know all the signs are showing, don't pick this, don't say this, but it's a musical. She's fully committing. It's someone who's been in the industry for a long time. It's their first film role. It's also, I don't know, there's just a lot that seems to be going into it, where like I feel like she could be someone who survives The Color Purple's downfall. And I feel like SAG is the spot where Color Purple would do the best throughout the whole award season.
So to me, if Fantasia Barrino makes it into SAG, I would say the film is pretty alive for the Oscars. If it just gets Ensemble, I'd still say it's pretty not happening. But a Barrino nomination would mean that there's more passion behind the film than I'd expected before. So that would mean I'd push it a little bit up, which is why I don't have Barrino. I instead have Greta Lee. I am keeping Sandra Hüller from Anatomy of a Fall out of my top 5. The reason being for that, the last time they nominated a non-English language performance in the Best Actress category was in 2012. Now, you could make the argument that Sandra Hüller is doing probably 75 to 80% of that role in English. However, it is still an international film, and they don't go for that. It's not the type of thing that SAG does. So instead, I'm riding with Greta Lee. She's my number 6 at the Oscars. So if I'm swapping Sandra Hüller out for someone, it's going to be Greta Lee. This category is going to be pretty close to what I think the Oscars 5 will be. And honestly, Greta Lee could push Sandra Hüller out for the Oscars as well, or push Margot Robbie out. There, it's some configuration. But yeah, you were saying earlier, Annette Bening is possible. If Annette Bening happens anywhere, it is definitely SAG. One that you didn't mention, though, is Ingenue Ellis-Taylor. But if she does get nominated, I wouldn't be too shocked. I'd be pretty shocked because she's missed everywhere so far. But it would make sense for this awards body to go for Origin.
I just feel like the fact that she missed Globe was just the deficit. 6 nominations,
Yes.
6 spots in that category, and she couldn't get in over there over someone like Benning, over Lee, over Spady. I just feel like that was kind of the end of the road for Origin. Don't really know what Neon's doing with that movie. I think they should have just kept it for next year, especially like there's not much coming out next year. But Neon's always about buying stuff. But regardless, that's going to move us over to Best Supporting Actor, where, I mean, people have been talking about RRR all year. There's 4 R's. There's Gosling, there's De Niro, there is Downey Jr., but there's Ruffalo too. So I think all 4 R's are into this category. I think they're all pretty secure at the top 4 spot. Yes, I know you're probably going to say the same thing for DiCaprio with De Niro. It's like, oh, he's missing critics groups. But again, I think there's a difference of critics groups and industry groups when it comes to people who are just that big. And then my 5th slot, I kind of teased a little bit before, I do have Sterling K. Brown getting in over Charles Melton, but I would not be shocked if like Melton or even Matt Damon, as I've been saying kind of all year, could kind of come in and reclaim this 5th spot to show the Oppenheimer love.
Yeah, I agree with your top groups. I agree with your top here, which is, personally, I go Ryan Gosling at the top. I do have Robert Downey Jr. taking the Oscar right now, but I have Ryan Gosling at SAG. He is such a SAG-winning role, and if they want to show their love for Barbie, they could absolutely do it in supporting actor. Robert Downey Jr. second, Mark Ruffalo third. Those are the 3 that I think are locked. Robert De Niro is a little bit shaky, but for the most part, Robert De Niro is pretty strong. And then rounding out my 5, I also have Sterling K. Brown. So yep, same 5 as you. On the outside, I could see Charles Melton get in. Dominic Sessa could happen. But the real threat, as you mentioned, Matt Damon. That said, for my personal sanity, I'd love to see Willem Dafoe make it. I love Willem Dafoe. I want to see him in here. And if we want to go really wild, if SAG just loves Color Purple and they're really passionate about it, Coleman Domingo could show up here.
He could, but I think I just go back to the Globes thing. If he couldn't make a lineup of 6 at Globes, I'm just not sure.
But the Globes just didn't like it in general. That's the thing.
True.
So
yeah.
what I more mean is that if they're passionate enough for this, that we might see a revival of Color Purple in the race, we would see some indication of life beyond Best Ensemble and beyond Danielle Brooks.
That's going to move us over to Supporting Actress, where you just talked about Danielle Brooks. Above her, though, I think we both could say Divine Joy Randolph and Emily Blunt. They do love them some Emily Blunt at SAG. She never misses.
Yeah, if there's one thing that's guaranteed, every year it's that Emily Blunt is getting a nomination at the Screen Actors Guild Awards and missing the Oscar. That's just how it happens. There's few things. Yeah, who knows? I still think that there's a chance Emily Blunt misses because I think most people would agree that performance does not deserve an Oscar nomination. Even the biggest Oppenheimer fans would say,
Well, here's the thing. I could agree with that in a lot of categories, but this category, there's no real clear direction. Just trying to predict here with SAG, I came up with 11 names. I'm sure the Oscar would have even more names of people who are in contention. And to me, Blunt's just in the biggest movie of the bunch. She's in a lot of people's minds. She has that one big SAG scene. Plus, SAG people love her. So I think she's in here. And for the Oscars, I think getting SAG and BAFTA. And I mean, she got Globe too. That's a pretty solid route to get yourself into an Academy Award nomination. I do have Danielle Brooks and my number 3 slot for The Color Purple. I was never on the Brooks hype train to win. Still shocked the movie's doing less than what people thought it would, but I never really bought the Brooks part of it all.
I mean, Divine Joy Randolph is sweeping in a similar sense to how Ke Huy Quan swept last year. It's just absolutely crazy. This category feels pretty locked up. I mean, we haven't seen televised awards yet, so we might change our opinion of who has it locked up when the Golden Globes happen next week. But yeah, it's Randolph's to lose. But then there's, yeah, like you said, Blunt just here, Brooks just here, and Foster is both of our next pick.
Yeah.
I got to give you credit, man. When you saw Naiad, you immediately said Jodie Foster could happen. And I went, what the hell are you talking about? That's ridiculous. But now it looks like it actually is happening. So I mean, have to give you full credit.
It's either she generally had everything, or she's that person who hits everything and misses at the last moment. But her performance is just, it's in a category like this, there's no reason not to have her top 5, top 6, as some of these bodies do. And she's just an easy person to slide in. She's very well liked. She's given one of her best performances in years. And her character is very likable when the lead of the movie is very unlikable. So, like, it has all the makings. Plus, it's just a big name, and Netflix knows how to campaign their actors. Speaking of SAG, they love Blunt. They also love some Viola Davis, so I have her as my 5th and final slot for Air, being Air's only nomination, which feels weird, but also makes a lot of sense.
I don't think it does make sense, honestly. I think it would make much more sense to go with America Ferrera, who's in Barbie, a movie that they're going to eat up the same way that you were saying with Emily Blunt. You know, you just nominate the person who is in the movie and has the one big scene and, you know, might not be anything special for most of the movie, but has that big moment. You could say the exact same thing for America Ferrera.
I mean, yeah, I get the argument for Ferrera, but again, I hate to reference the Globes again, but they love Barbie. How they not get her into the category in a lineup of 6? I thought if anywhere Ferrera was going to get in, it was going to be Globes, and she couldn't get in that Globe.
But the Globes are highbrow now. Like, look at their nominations. They went for Anatomy of a Fall. They went for Zone of Interest. At this point, SAG is so much closer to Critics' Choice. Like, they don't go for foreign language films. Neither does Critics' Choice. There's going to be crossover.
SAG also likes names, though, and Ferrera honestly is just not a name compared to the rest of the people here. I would say if they're going to go for someone in the realm of Ferrera and just a movie that they like a lot. I actually don't even know, because like looking at some other contenders I think are close in line. There's Penelope Cruz for Ferrari, which honestly after seeing the movie I don't get it, but I know there's a ton of people out there who are pushing the hype for Cruz. I just think Ferrari's a mess across the board. Everyone's doing something different in the film. Rachel McAdams seems like she should be a shoo-in, but also
she's a critic thing.
Yeah, she's just not hitting at places you think she would hit, like at Globes, like at some other places. Julianne Moore, weird that she would be the one May December nomination. Rosamund Pike, I'm just denying any Saltburn possibility. And Henson hasn't gotten anything. So I like Ferrera is there. It's just like, I don't know. I just feel better about someone that they do continuously of Viola Davis for Air.
I mean, I see where you're coming from. I just think that Viola Davis in Air is such a weird, like, out of nowhere pick. But that said, they do out of nowhere picks all the time. Last year, remember when they did Adam Sandler for Hustle?
Yeah, and we all thought, oh, he's our new number 5.
Did we all think that? I definitely didn't think that for a second.
But I was like,
that's a weird one. No, that to me was like, it's going to be like Tom Cruise or something. Like, it's wild. Yeah, I think personally, I'm just going to, I don't know. I'm going to play it safe with the movie. You're going to play it safe with the star. And I think both approaches make sense where, you know, personally, I think they'll over-nominate Barbie. And it does make sense that you think they'll go to the comfort zone of an actor that they just nominate all the time anyways.
Yeah, and I mean, that's the fun thing with SAG. These awards bodies are changing each year. So who knows, maybe like last year, Banshees gets every nomination. They will throw it to America Ferrera as well here to get an extra nomination up for Barbie. But, you know, SAG has one cool award that just no one cares about, but we care about, and that is Stunts. So I feel like it's just safe here. Let's just throw out what we could like maybe expect, because they don't give a damn about choreography. So Color Purple, get it out of here. Yeah. Wonka, get it out of here. What they do care about though, we got John Wick, Mission Impossible. They nominated Irishman, so I would say Killers of the Flower Moon. So I guess
Killers
that's
of the Flower Moon.
3. Usually a Marvel movie gets in, so Guardians would be 4, and that just leaves an open slot at 5.
Okay, I'm going to throw out some possibilities. For one thing, you could see the Iron Claw happen here.
Yeah, I guess I was kind of let down a little bit with how little stunt work there was throughout the movie, but I guess I guess it's enough.
Yeah, but then again, like, they nominated Trial to Chicago 7, so, like, it's that type of thing where if they just like the movie and they want to nominate it somehow, then it could end up here. Polite Society would be another one that I could see happen, especially after it got the Obama bump a few days ago. Maybe it's on people's minds. I could see something like Extraction 2 happen, maybe Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny, Napoleon even, or if we want to stretch really far, Fast 10.
Yeah, Fast 10. I'll throw out one more, I guess, wild one, but I would love to see Magic Mike's Last Dance. They're never gonna do that, but why not? Show off some dance moves, guys.
Does it have any stunts in it though, aside
No.
from the stripping? Yeah, so
No,
they don't do the choreography part of the stunts thing. It's just the stunts, and to me that means it's a race between Mission Impossible and John Wick. Maybe the killer happens. That's another possibility too.
And I guess they've never done a Creed movie, but this year would be the time to do a Creed movie.
Ooh, would it be the time to do a Creed movie? I think it's the wrong time.
Yeah, maybe the wrong time. I was thinking more Michael B. Jordan's the director now.
See,
He's
I
the
was
one
thinking
making the stunts, but
I was
yeah.
thinking Jonathan Majors. They're not going to touch Creed 3 with a 10-foot pole.
Yeah, I guess not. But yeah, let us know. What are your SAG predictions in all the categories, including stunts? Like I said, this is probably going to be our last predictions for SAG until they happen. But, like I said before, join the Discord if we have any updates. I will definitely say that there. But until next time, my name is Dyl.
And my name is Matt, and this has been Fantasy Filmball.